A Better World Blueprint. Good humans doing good things.
When the world's going to hell in a handbasket, how do you stay hopeful? I like to balance the dark with the light, and I do that by seeking out people who are doing good things, those who are trying to leave the world a better place than when they found it. That's what you'll find here: hope, inspiration, and faith that we are all capable of doing great things. I'm Siobhan Hunt, and this is A Better World Blueprint. Becoming a parent can be a transformative experience, and that transformation is often a crazy mix of bone-crushing exhaustion, impossibly deep love, frustration, and delight, which can all be very confusing. Benita Bensch is a life coach and author of Seen Again, Light on Matrescence. Her aim is to help women find their way through the transformation of motherhood and to understand their true selves. Hello, Benita, and welcome to A Better World Blueprint.
Hi, Siobhan. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. Now, starting at the very beginning, what led you to the work you're doing today in matrescence? Did you have a wake-up moment where you thought, okay, this is where I want to concentrate my energy, this is the work I need to do?
My wake-up moment was actually before I even knew about the word matrescence. So I had been a coach prior to having children and worked mainly in the small business, and I suppose you would call it life coaching, the personal coaching realm, and also had a background in marketing and comms and different things and in agriculture. But it was when I went through my own experience of motherhood and through the changes that encompassed. I have 4 children, and when I had the wake-up call, Siobhan, was when my youngest he was 9 months old. My eldest was 4, so I had 4 under 4. And up until that point, I had been really enjoying motherhood and immersed myself in it. Like, I'd put my business on ice for a while. We were living on a farm. I thought I sort of had everything I wanted because we'd tried for so long to have kids, and I thought, oh, wow, we've done it. This is amazing. And I was so happy being a mum. But then just started to experience lots of feelings of confusion and anxiety and depression and just lots of things going on, physical symptoms, and really felt so lost and like, what is going on? Who am I? Where am I going? Why don't I feel happier? And went through a really hard time. I call it, in my latest book, I call it the black hole, and I've referred to those periods in my life as the black hole because they do feel like you sort of disappear into this abyss. So it was when I came out the other side of that, I wrote my first book, and then I started to think I would love to help other mums who are going through or have gone through what I've just been through. And that was sort of a turning point for me in beginning to understand and question, like, why am I feeling like this? Does everyone feel like this? Does it have to be like this? And that sort of set about this chain of events of then beginning to learn and enrolling programs and coaching, and then eventually motherhood studies, where I then learned about matrescence. So it was sort of 7 years into motherhood that I actually heard about matrescence, and things started to then make so much sense.
And just thinking about that experience that you went through and the fact that you had 4 under 4 and then you had that period of going through that black hole, as you mentioned, seems to me, though, that even when you were on the other side of that, you would have still very much been in the trenches. Young children, it's a very different experience as your children get older in terms of what we can mentally and physically cope with, I feel anyway. Those first years can be so intense. Was that a difficult decision to make when you came through on the other side, understanding you were feeling better, but then saying, there's got to be more I can do with this, still being in the trenches with young children and the demands that puts on you. Was that a hard decision to make?
Firstly, I want to say that when I say I came out the other side, it was a slow process. I was mentally unwell. I wasn't coping. It took months for me to start to feel better with the help of a coaching program I'd enrolled in, some support I was seeking, confiding in other people, beginning to express myself, tapping back into my creativity, just returning to all the pillars of life like sleep and nutrition. And so all of that took a lot of commitment and energy. And yes, you're right, doing that while still in the trenches, and also making the decision, as you say, to start pursuing those other things. It wasn't a hard decision, Siobhan, because I knew it's what I needed to do. Because one of the things that helped me feel well again was beginning to write again. And I started writing my first book in about a month after, or 2 months after sort of the rock bottom of that black hole. And it was like a light got switched on, just reconnecting with something that felt like me and mine, because I had kind of just let it all go and was like loving my kids, but feeling like I was on this treadmill of obligation almost, in just going through the motions. And it is so intense in those years. It still is intense, but in a different way. So it actually wasn't a hard decision. What was a hard decision was working out how I was going to do it. And it meant we started paying a nanny, and so I had to give myself permission to do that and kind of go through that big personal development journey of allowing myself to have the time for those things that weren't business and weren't kids and weren't house. So, yeah, it wasn't a hard decision, but it was tricky in how to actually make it happen.
Yeah. Were there stumbles along the way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So since that time, my work has encompassed writing, coaching, retreats, workshops, all sorts of programs and things for mums and rural and regional women, as well as another book and kids, business, all of those things. So, yeah, I've had another black hole in that time, and managing my anxiety is an ongoing thing. I've had a neurodivergence diagnosis. I've grappled with the blend of life where getting pulled this way with my family's needs and our farm priorities and making space for my work. That is something I have to advocate for on an ongoing basis, because I work from home most of the time, and it seems to everyone around me that I'm just forever available. That is something I'm always battling that. I obviously need some better boundaries, Siobhan. That's my next project.
Oh, I don't know. I think it is just an assumption. I feel there are many people who feel if you're a woman who works from home, you are somehow able to do all the things.
Yeah. And yeah, lots of stumbles. We've also had lots of changes and transitions with moving and setting up in new places and things. And also times when my business has worked and when it hasn't worked, or whatever I offer hasn't really taken off. Lots of them.
How do you find your way through those times? And maybe there's different things you've used at different points along the way. So maybe we could take the example of the black hole you mentioned, because I feel what you're talking about is probably a very common experience for many women, in the fact that women, and I'm generalising here, but a lot of women will work and work and work. They'll take on the caring responsibilities, whether it's children or parents or friends, whatever it is, and they just keep on going until something breaks, because there's nothing out there that's saying to them, for example, when you're working from home, you're still working, and that is a lot. So don't have all these other things that you have to do on top of it. There's nothing saying that to women. So I feel like if we were to take that as an example, have you found that you use similar techniques to find your way back after that experience, after the black hole experience, or have you had to readjust when you've gone through it another time?
I think, firstly, now with the knowledge I have, I think my black hole periods are burnout. For a long time, I called them nervous breakdowns before I understood myself better. But I think they're probably classified as an autistic burnout or burnout. I don't know exactly. But so I think, again, naming it, I'm in burnout or I'm very close to total burnout. I haven't experienced total body shutdown, but I have kind of been on the edge of that. So every time I go through it, and I haven't been through it since 2022, and I hope I'm learning, Siobhan. I hope I'm learning. I feel like I'm finally learning. I feel like I'm getting better. The more I understand myself, the more I see the warning signs and act earlier. My husband is also good at flagging. He can sense it or see it in me sometimes before I can. So what I learned from the previous one in 2018, I feel like I can kind of pick myself up a bit more quickly. But what I learned about the one in 2022, that there was some deeper decisions beneath it that I needed to make. That was probably a big learning out of that period, was I needed to make some changes in my life, not just day-to-day changes, not just mindset changes, but I needed to make some structural decisions about where I was heading, what I was involved in, hard decisions, but that I was actually sitting in indecision and I was disintegrating in a way. I was so, you're either moving forward or backwards, and I was just in a disintegrative state, which I learned a lot from that, the power of actually making a decision moving forward. And that's something I refer back to now a lot as well. When I start to feel that uneasy ickiness that I'm carrying around, it's like, what decision do I need to make that I'm not making?
And you sound like you're able to find perspective when you need to and be able to self-reflect. Does that come naturally to you, or are there practices that you have that help you do that?
I think it comes naturally to me. I wish it wasn't the case at times. I think I do spend too much time reflecting and analysing and wanting to improve and wanting to do better tomorrow. I'd love to be a little bit more easygoing at times. I think that also it's part of my nature, but I also do think it's something I've learned. And having worked in the personal development space, the coaching space, and the therapeutic space at times, and having worked with lots of practitioners where reflection is built into the program or the course, I think that's also taught me the power of reflection and to sit and to part of my work is around asking good questions. So I think that becomes very learned to ask good questions of myself as well.
Do you think that the work you've done has changed you?
Absolutely, without question. Yeah. I think the coaching work or the work that I do in connection with other people is a co-creative process. And so whether that's my children, our family, my clients, as they're growing, I'm growing too, and we're in connection. So you can't help but be shaped by that work. And all of what I'm continually learning is shaping and growing me. And even writing my most recent book, it's sort of not the same person as I'm not the same person that I was when I started writing it. Even by the end of that period, I don't know how people write books for like 10 years because I would never finish it. Because by the time you finish writing it, you want to write it again because because you've changed so much in that time. You learn so much about yourself. So, yeah, I think it's had a huge impact on me, and I'd like to think that I have an impact on others, and hopefully that's the case.
Have you been able to see that impact in any particular person, or has anyone been able to talk to you about the impact you've made on them?
Yeah, I have. Over the years, Siobhan, I've had some beautiful stories and feedback from clients, whether that's just a short sentence or two, or someone sending me an example, like a client recently who's a friend as well, recently sent me a little audio note saying, I've just gone and entered this public speaking contest and I never would have done that without your program. Or a friend who ended up writing a book, and that was as a result of me working with her. Not only me, but, I played a role. Or women who've started businesses or changed relationships or made hard decisions or just improved their daily well-being. Or one client went and stayed away for a couple of nights from her family, and she'd never done that in her entire motherhood as a result of doing that introspection and looking at, what is it I need or what is it I want. So I think there's some kind of big examples of big changes people have made, but majority would be just those day-to-day, minute-by-minute choices of choosing differently in the moment or choosing themselves more often.
I love that. Benita, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me, Siobhan. It's been wonderful.
Benita Bensch, author of Seen Again, Light on Matrescence. For more info about Benita and to find out more about her book, check out the links in the episode notes. I'm Siobhan Hunt. See you next time.